very beautiful, kind-hearted, wonderful guest, Roger's beautiful wife, Marrie.
Hi, there's a young man on the phone for you. And I thought, oh, and it was Roger. If I run, he'll think I'm too anxious to see him. Now, if I walk, he'll think I'm not anxious to see him. And we met and we shook hands.
During that period when he was gone for that long stretch, how difficult was that for you?
And I thought, what am I going to do? How can I imagine my life without him? And you become hardened. And what I needed to do today, and to protect my children and keep the family whole.
This is when he was sentenced in Australia.
During the course of Roger's incarcerations, we always spoke on the phone, but emotionally we were never severed. Time when Roger had been shot down in Colombia, there was nothing, silence. Well, just concerned, just wondering, where is he? What's going on? Is he alive or is he dead?
Talking about buried money, buried treasure, missing drugs, breaking into prisons, helping Roger get out of prison. I'd say it's too wild to be real.
When I look back, I've done a lot of crazy things.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Unbreakable podcast. This is the second one by popular demand. The first one was a banger. This was a massive guest that we've had on the podcast, Mr. Roger Reeves. His story speaks for itself. I'm not going to do a second intro. International drug smuggler, man of mystery, fascinating gentleman. But not only do we have Roger today, but we have a very, very special, very beautiful, kind-hearted, wonderful guest, Roger's beautiful wife, Marrie. Marrie's going to be joining us on the podcast today to take us a little bit behind the scenes. So what you're going to experience today is a little bit of the life of an international trafficker. Now, what Marrie has seen, you're going to experience today on the podcast. It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be structured more like a Q&A. So what we've done is we've taken popular audience questions. We're going to kind of put them to Marrie today, take you guys through that experience. And then we're going to do a little swap out and we're going to get some high octane stories out of Roger based off audience Q&A as well. But at a personal level, I want to welcome you guys. I want to bring you deeper into the family of Roger and Marrie. And I think today is going to be very insightful because you're never going to learn more about a man than from his partner. And what Marrie's seen with Roger through their beautiful 60 years of marriage, I can tell you it's going to be nothing short of exhilarating. And at a personal level, it's just very fortunate for me to have Marrie here, very blessed. And on that note, thank you for coming on. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, Liam. Thank you for having me.
Sorry for being so low energy.
I understand.
I feel like I've ruined the podcast because of my low energy.
Not hardly.
No, but honestly, it is a privilege to be here. And, from the moment we met you guys, it's just been nothing but positive energy. I think we have so much in common. Even your ability to read people, I feel like we have the same circles. I feel like we click with the same people. You seem to really appreciate authenticity, which I love.
Definitely. And
you can smell a shark, which I love. And you can probably see a snake slithering around, which I love. And I'm sure that's protected Roger throughout the years. But in terms of starting, so you've done one or two of these before?
I have,
yeah.
Yes.
So one was with Lex?
The very first one was with Lex. And it was so, I didn't know. I was just sitting in the back rows. And all of a sudden he says, Marrie, come on up. I'd like to talk to you.
He just threw you in there? What did Roger say?
Do it, Marrie, do it, But anyway, Lex made me feel very comfortable. What a wonderful man.
He seems very kind.
Yeah, he's very kind.
Yeah, and you guys seem to have good chemistry on that podcast as well. You got to protect people like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And did you do another one after Lex?
Yes, I think that was with Underbelly. That was just a few weeks ago. Gosh, I think there was another one. I can't recall.
Soft what? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. We'll
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. You know what I'm gonna say? Hey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey. Hey. She knows what I'm gonna say without me saying it. So we'll talk about that later. We're communicating with our eyes here. That's good. This one's not going to be like that. I'm just here to be your friend, not to exploit anybody, because I think that's where the best content comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've done well because Lex is like a really soft-hearted, genuine, beautiful kind of podcast. Soft White Underbelly is a little bit more, just from what I've been told, a bit more transactional, kind of sit down, tell the story, capture it, in and out. Okay, thank you so much.
Different audience.
Yeah, and I feel that this is definitely not that. Maybe more informal than Lex's. I think Lex does a fantastic job. But I think the good thing is now we've like known each other for a couple of days, it's gonna be a bit more fun because we can just talk like friends. Like I don't need to kind of go through any
I
scripts or
prefer
anything.
that.
Yeah, fuck the cameras and you know. But okay, so there were a few of the top questions that we got. There were some really good ones that kind of even took me back when I was going through them as well. I think there's two. One that I actually love, and I'm gonna hit you with that one first, and the second one's gonna be a little bit more wild. The first one's really beautiful, and it's about when you first met young little Roger Reeves. Can you tell me about that?
Well, I was on Lake Erie, a place called Turkey Point, and I was there on a holiday, sitting on a towel with my friends. I had just returned from Holland, and it was a graduation gift from my parents. I am Dutch, and so that was a thrill to be going back to my homeland. And so I was sharing, and I believe it was on a Sunday for some reason. I don't know. But I just happened to look down the pier, and I saw this figure coming on the pier. And the reason I noticed, because he was not dressed like the rest of us. We were all in bathing suits and water skiing and swimming and so forth. But here he comes, black trousers, a white short sleeve shirt, and a white Panama hat. And I thought, oh, a Mormon missionary. You know, we're going to get it now. Not really. But anyway, that ran through my head. And so I continued talking, and as he approached, I kept an eye on him. And as he passed, he tipped his hat, and he liked to say, "Good afternoon." And I thought that was very charming. And then I noticed this beautiful ring on his finger with an azure blue stone, and I started the conversation. I said, "Oh, what university did you graduate from?" And he said, "Well, actually, this is my high school ring, because in Canada, we receive a ring after we graduate from university." So then he detected a Dutch accent. I had acquired my Dutch accent again, you know, being there for that length of time in Holland. And then I said, "Well, why don't you come and sit down beside me and tell me why you know so much about Dutch accents?" And then we began to talk, and the world stood still. Yes, my
Nice.
girlfriends left.
Good girlfriends.
Yep. And then there were Roger and I, and the next thing you know, we shared, you know, what our ideas, our plans, what we'd like to do with our lives, etc. And then I heard my father call me, "Marrie, Marrie," and it was time for us to go. We were to go to some friend's house and have a barbecue. And so I excused myself, and I quickly quickly got a piece of paper and a pencil, and Roger sharpened it with his knife, and I wrote my name and address. In those days, you wrote your name and address down and my phone number, and we left it like that.
And did he call or did he come visit you after that?
I received a letter. I received a letter 3 or 4 months later, and I was so excited to get it, and I noticed Young Men's Christian Association, which is the YMCA, and I thought, "Oh, wow, this is good," you know?
Yeah.
So I opened up the letter, which was written in pencil, and I went, I said, "No, it's okay." The content was amazing. The content overrid the pencil.
Right.
Well, immediately I got my stationery out, my pen and ink, and I wrote him back. And Roger and I started this amazing correspondence. And we talked about everything, you know, just like the weather, even the weather.
So you became pen pals.
We became pen pals, and we discussed, you know, our values, our plans, what we expected, what we wanted to do. And during that time, it was heavy with the civil rights movement, and I would want to get into that. And he says, "You know what? There's not enough paper in the world for me to express or what's going on." So we left that. But we discussed politics, just every little thing. It was wonderful.
Oh, that is so
Yeah.
beautiful. Can I ask, were you like in that 3-month period before you got the letter, were you kind of like anxiously waiting for the call or the letter or a visit or something? Or
No, I just thought how nice that was. I didn't interpret anything into it.
right.
I just thought what a nice way of talking with someone and through correspondence. And actually, that's what you did. You just didn't pick up the phone in those days. It was long distance, and things like that. And yes, and then one day I did get a call, and my mother answered, and she says, "Marrie, there's a young man on the phone for you." And I thought, oh, I wonder who that is. And it was Roger. And I was really thrilled to be speaking with him. And he says, "I'm on my way to Alaska. I'm going to work in the fishing industry up there or whatever I can find," because annually, after they were done cropping tobacco in Georgia, Roger would go on up north and seek employment, and he'd get triple the pay that he did in Georgia. And he says, "This time I'm on my way to Alaska, and I would like to come and see you." And I said, "Well, I'll be in the same place you met me last year." And
At the beach?
at the beach on Lake Erie.
Wow.
Yeah, and we did meet.
Yeah.
And so when I knew the day that he was coming, I believe it was August the 4th. And so I was kind of expecting him again, And this time, again, I saw him again, but this time he wasn't dressed in the black trousers and the white shirt and the Panama hat. But I recognized him, and I thought, oh my gosh, there he is. So I thought, well, if I run, he'll think I'm too anxious to see him. Can't do that. Now, if I walk, he'll think I'm not anxious to see him, So anyway, through running and walking, we met and we shook hands.
Oh.
So, we were nervous. We both were nervous. And I said, well, I invited him. We're water skiing, come and go water skiing with us. He said, well, I don't have a bathing suit. I said, well, he said, is there a town nearby? I said, certainly. So we all just got in the car. And in those days, you could have 3 people in a vehicle. It was a really big car. Like the girl always sat in the middle. So Roger's friend Brian was driving. I sat in the middle, and Roger was to my right. And on we went to the town to pick up a bathing suit so he could go water skiing. And so as we were driving, I was just so aware of his presence next to me. So when we would turn in the car, I really try to lean the other way, not to touch. It was just, I don't know what it was, but it was just extremely, we were sensitive to each other, very much so. Well, anyway, got the bathing suit, bought gifts for everybody, bought a pipe for his friend. In those days, you smoked tobacco in a pipe, the boys did.
Yeah.
And we went back to the beach, and by then it was just too late to go skiing. So my parents invited him to have dinner with us that night. And my dad had gone fishing. Daddy loved fishing. And, of course, the fish was burnt, but not of course. My dad was a great cook, but that night it was a little bit burnt. And we ate, and then after dinner, Roger and I went for a walk. And so I showed him around more in Turkey Point. And we came down the end of the road, and there was a spit out there, and they had buried cars out there so people could walk way, way out into Lake Erie. And I showed him around. We walked on the cars, and straight across was Detroit, Michigan. And just showed him around, just pointed out various points of interest on the lake. And as we were walking back, again, this sensitivity, and then our hands touched. And we fell in love at first touch.
On the lake?
On the lake. On top of the cars. The rooftops of the cars in the lake.
Oh, that's so nice.
And silence. It was just like, silence. And so we walked back to the car, and I said, I would like to show you some more areas. And we had these beautiful dunes there. And so we drove out there, and we walked through the dunes. And then we climbed up on this really tall dune. I should have known already. Roger was very adventurous, didn't go on the little path. Let's get off the path. Let's explore what's off the path.
I was about to say adventurous might be an understatement.
Yeah. And so I remember he had climbed up, and then I was climbing up, and then he was holding on, and he reached down, and again I touched his hand, and then he kissed me.
Oh, by the lake.
Yeah, in the sand dunes.
Really?
Yeah, on the edge of the lake.
How old were you both at this time?
19.
Wow. So you guys have been married 60 years. You've known each other
61
since 19 years old.
Yeah.
You guys are making me believe in like true love and love at first sight and soulmates and
Yeah,
the
and
universe.
and Liam, I never thought about getting married or having a family. I wanted to see the world. I wanted adventure.
We kind of got a bit of that.
Oh, I did. And
For better or worse.
I got lucky. I got to do it with a guy that I'm in love with, you
Oh.
know. But I was going to do it all on my own. And I thought, oh, well, when I'm in my late 20s, 30s, maybe it would be nice to meet someone then. But I got to do it about 10 years earlier.
Oh,
And
isn't
he
that
had the same
amazing?
desires as I did to see the world and the adventure. And
You know what's funny? I'm kind of piecing things together as you talk because I remember, and thank you for that was beautiful, by the way. Like I could listen to that for the entire 2 hours. But I'm kind of piecing together as you talk because I remember like Roger was very passionate about like, I'm going to go do a trip and get a bunch of money so that we can do this or so that we can do that. And there was this underlying theme of like, his goal was always to support you and the family.
yes.
And obviously, you know, he did that in a very big way. But like, one of the audience questions actually was, you know, did you do this for the adrenaline or for the money? And I can't answer for Roger, but in my mind, I'm kind of like, well, it seemed at the start he was doing it for his family. Like that's where it all came from, you know? And to see his ambition to kind of support like your dreams and your vision, I don't know. I find there's something like honorable about that, you know?
Yeah. Well, Roger's dreams were far bigger than mine.
Right.
And I thought, yeah, that sounds great. But I did, you know, and so it was just really lovely to go with him exploring. And really, you want to do that? Well, sometimes I didn't believe him.
Yeah.
But he made it happen.
Wow.
And yes.
And so correct me if I'm wrong right now, because I might get these numbers right, but I believe it's 3 children you guys have.
Yes.
And they're now in their 40s and 50s.
Correct.
And you guys are now grandparents as well.
We are.
Beautiful grandchildren I've seen.
Yeah.
They must love you guys.
I think so.
I saw some of those photos. They were beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
and also I know that, correct me if I'm wrong, so you've got your 3 beautiful children. How many grandchildren now?
We have 3 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild.
Well, how old's your great-grandchild?
He's 11.
Wow.
Yes.
And I remember when we met the other day, you were saying there was one of your grandchildren that you kind of only recently just met. Is that right?
Yes, on this trip, by the way.
No way.
Yes. And that's the first time that Roger and our granddaughter were able to embrace each other, like touch each other. And that just happened just a day ago.
I took a photo of that on the park
Yes.
bench.
Yes.
It was such a beautiful photo because Roger was scrolling through it, and I don't even know why, but it seemed like something out of a movie because you can like feel the energy coming out of a photo.
Yes.
I'm like, can I take a photo of this, please? Wow, how well, I'll ask Roger about this when we do his section next. But how was that for you to kind of witness that first meeting and?
Oh, you know, as my daughter said, she's, you know, my daughter, it's my daughter's daughter, of course, our granddaughter. She says, I'm complete now.
Oh.
And I think that covers it, that entails it. I am.
Yeah, that's really nice. So I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Forgot what I was saying.
Well, we were talking about Roger meeting his granddaughter, the one
Yeah.
that he had never actually touched.
Yeah.
You know, maybe spoke a few times over the phone, maybe a letter or so, you know, or 2 throughout her 24 years. So after 24 years,
Yeah.
he met her.
And is this because he was in prison at the time, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because I remember one of the key parts that stuck out for me, because obviously, you know, Roger was in and out, on and off, and there were
Yes.
periods inside and outside, but the longest, or one of the longer ones, was the Australian stint. I think it was 15 years.
18.
18, that's right.
Yes.
And I remember, I can't remember if it was in one of the books or one of the interviews, but he said that one of the most difficult parts was coming home and seeing how much the children had grown up. Now I know, you could probably cover this part, and it's a difficult part to cover in its entirety, but during that period when he was gone for that long stretch, how difficult was that for you, and how was it for him to come home after that? Like, how was the experience of him coming back, and at what point did it hit you that, like, some time has passed and the kids are a bit older now? Talk me a little bit through that period of life.
Well, I'll begin with him leaving,
Yeah.
And of course that was devastating. Your heart drops to the floor. And you realize, I can't stay there. I've got to pick up. And so as a mother, your instinct is to protect the children, make it as easy for them as possible. Say, give me your hurt, babies. Give it to me. I can handle it. You don't want to inflict any more pain or hurt. And each one had their own personal and private hurt and despair over their dad being gone. But I wanted to make it as best as I could. And so trying to do that encourages you to make your children happy. Get your mind off of you. And I thought, what am I going to do? How can I imagine my life without him? Because we did everything together. We did everything together, and also as a family. And so you begin to carve out a new way of living, and you become hardened. You have to be hard. You can't be sitting there crying. And I thought, I cried for 2 years, and since then, after that, I said, I'm not crying anymore. And I haven't cried since then.
Wow.
Just not going to cry over it anymore. That was my new life, and I was going to make the best of it. And I had hope that Roger was coming home one day, but it was just so far in the future. I couldn't even think about that. I just thought about today and what I needed to do today, and to protect my children and keep the family whole.
And this was when, this is when he was sentenced in Australia.
Well, the first time, the other time too.
Yep.
And it was the same thing again, and you experience the same devastation and the pain, and what am I going to do? Oh, I can't believe this is happening again. And so you pull up your bootstraps and you do what you must do.
Yep.
So I did that, and then about him, and I created a life for all of us. We still had dinner at the table, and especially with my son, the girls had their father a lot longer than our son did. And I told him, I said, Rhett, I can only be your mother. I can only teach you things that a mother can teach you. I'm sorry that Dad's not here. And he responded and said, well, Mom, I know where Dad is. I know that he loves me. He says, some kids in the class don't even know who their father is or where they are. And he says, and don't worry about that. So I thought I should maybe find someone, a male figure that he could learn from, but he turned that down.
Wow.
Yeah. But so then anyway, I was concerned about him, but he's turned out okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you were telling me these little side businesses, and you must love having Dad back around.
Yes, and then about Roger coming home.
Yeah.
Wow, like I lived on my own for over 20 years.
And where were you staying at this time?
Well, when Roger came back to the place was in Santa Barbara, California.
Oh, so you're in Santa Barbara?
Yes,
Okay.
Santa Barbara. And I thought, I didn't try to think too much about it. I thought, I'll deal with it when it happens. So I made all the preparations. I like to keep a nice home and have flowers, and I got his clothes cleaned and the shoes polished, welcome home, food, and all that sort of thing. But a little bit nervous. How is this going to be? And someone sleeping in the same bed with you, I thought, how's that going to be?
Yeah, yeah.
And anyway, he came home, and it was just very emotional, and we cried. And I popped a bottle of champagne.
Oh.
And we just had some little things to eat. And
was it just you and Roger first, or the kids there at that time?
No. And friends had sent in bottles of champagne and just goodies. We received gifts. When Roger first came home, people would send in gifts to us. Welcome home, Roger, and wishing you all the very best. We love you. And then we just started living again as husband and wife. and we were able to talk about it. We were vulnerable. And during the course of Roger's incarcerations,
Yep.
we always spoke on the phone. We were able to communicate, and I really appreciated that. It was
Right.
always good to get that phone call, just to touch.
Yeah.
Because even though we were separated, physically, and we couldn't touch, but emotionally we were never severed. Spiritually and emotionally, that never was severed or broken. We were connected the whole time.
Wow.
And sometimes we would fight over the phone,
Yeah.
and so he could only call me.
Oh, that'd be
and-
hard.
Yeah, and so you leave on a bad note.
Oh, that'd be so difficult. And then the whole week he's sitting there upset
And you have to wait 20 minutes before he
Oh.
could. And I can't call him. He has to call me. Is he going to call? or is
Oh,
he
that's
not?
tough.
Oh, I wish I hadn't. You know all that what you go through.
Yeah, always have a rule: never argue before you go to bed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the phone would ring. Oh, I'm so sorry. I am too. That sort of thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
You could make a whole movie just about this story, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it'd be better than The Notebook as well.
And then we'd have Zoom calls, but they sometimes turned out. Well, for Roger to access the Zoom call in the room where they would allow him to have a Zoom call, a Skype, I should say, was so difficult. Someone would stay in longer, then the key couldn't be found, and it seemed like, the guards were they weren't encouraging for the prisoners to be able to have this communication with their loved ones.
I like how you said that so politely. Instead of saying they're pieces of shit, you're like...
I'll let you say that, Liam.
Pieces of shit scumbags. You're like, they didn't quite have the tools to facilitate. I'm like, you can call them scumbags. I'll call it for you.
Thank you.
Yin and yang here on the podcast.
Exactly.
All right, so these fucking scumbags wouldn't
so-
let him use the Skype
Yeah.
room.
So that already, dove right into our time together. And then Roger would be upset. He'd want to take care of them like you would. But you
I
don't.
like that you know me well enough to know that.
But you can't.
Yes,
because
I
he wants
know.
to come home.
Yeah.
And so then it just, so getting over that, so you end up talking about that for a while. And it just takes the intimacy away from what you're hoping you're going to get with a Skype call. So that soon, let's just forget
I was
it.
going to say, probably just go back to phones.
Just phone on the phone. It was so much better.
Even, I don't know if this is even a weird question to ask. Did you ever feel like you could, hear his thoughts, while he was gone, or feel his energy? Like, if he was having a bad day, or if, if you were having a bad day, did you ever kind of feel that connection?
Yes. Actually, I maybe want to express this one time when Roger had been shot down in Colombia. And
So just to be clear for the audience, this is when he was trafficking to and
yes,
from.
when Roger was trafficking cocaine from Colombia to the United States.
Correct.
And he was shot down and went missing. As far as I had no communication with him. And he didn't come home at the scheduled time. I always had a rough idea when to expect him home again. There was nothing, silence. And I was concerned. I was worrying and, just concerned, just wondering, where is he? What's going on? Is he alive or is he dead? You don't call the authorities because you could, you don't. You just keep this all to yourself. And so I was taking a shower one morning, and of course he was on my mind, and all of a sudden I heard his voice say, "Marrie, I'm okay. Don't worry, I'm okay. I'm coming home." It was so clear, Liam. It was so clear that it just took all my anguish and my fear. It smoothed me out.
Really?
Yes. And that was the loudest that I've ever heard him speak to me,
Really?
telepathic, I guess.
No, for real. Because I tell people about this and they think that I'm crazy, but I think
Yeah.
people who haven't experienced this are kind of the crazy ones. Because
Yeah.
I believe in that type of energy.
Yeah.
And so when you heard that voice, or you heard that connection, or you felt it, where was he at that time?
He was in Colombia going down the river, trying to get to safety because, the Colombian, the federales, they're not federales in Colombia.
Right.
But anyway, they were looking for him because the airplane had crashed. And so come to find out later, Roger ended up in Missionary Aviation Fellowship Erie, where they would dispatch these planes that would, help people in the jungle, provide medicine and this, that, and the other.
Yep.
And that's something Roger and I really wanted to do originally. In the first part of our marriage, we wanted to do something like that.
I remember that's why I got into flying.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
to
got
be able to
into
help
flying.
people and do missionary work. Yeah.
We both loved that book, Jungle Pilot. We were
Yep.
both impacted. Yes, let's do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So he was with these missionary people in Colombia.
Yes.
So hang on. The plane gets shot down. He's working his way
Yes.
through the jungle. The federales are looking for him, and he finds the missionaries. What, in the jungle or on the
Yeah,
outskirts?
they had a how should I say it? An area that was cleared out for missionary aviation pilots.
No way. And did they fly him home, or did he just borrow a
Yeah,
plane?
you should ask Roger about that. Yes, they
Yeah, I will.
did. Isn't that interesting?
They flew him home.
Yes.
That's so. What was his cover story for who he was?
He was looking. He was medicinal plants, studying medicinal plants, and gathering species. And they would say, "Well," they said, "We don't get very many tourists or people coming through here. What are you doing here?"
Really?
Yes.
Um.
And he was escorted right onto the plane.
Wow. And so
Oh.
just one of the questions was, so when a plane gets shot down, this is just because I've not been in a plane that's been shot down before. I mean,
I hope you never do.
yeah, no, same, touch wood. But when that happens, do you pull a parachute, or how do you even survive a plane getting shot down?
Well, I'm going to let Roger.
Yeah, okay,
tell
I'll let
you
him
about
tell the
that
next one.
because he experienced it.
Yeah,
and he'll
let's
be
save that
able
one.
To, give you.
I'm fascinated.
Yes.
But the main takeaway is that that was the first time you'd kind of not heard from him, and you kind of picked up on that energy, and you felt that he was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And here he is in the back of a missionary plane on the way home, and he survives. One of the that's okay. One of the top audience questions, and this one's going to be like, there's so many to choose from, but it was like, what's one of the craziest things you've had to do for Roger? Problem is, there's so many. It's like, which ones do you even choose to talk about? Or maybe
Yeah,
which
when
is your...
I know when I look back, I've done a lot of crazy things.
Yeah, I mean,
And I said, no, I'm not going to do it, and I do it.
because we're talking, just for the audience, we're talking about buried money, buried treasure,
Yes.
missing drugs. We're talking about breaking into prisons. We're talking about helping
Yeah.
Roger get out of prisons. We're talking about Roger being on the run. I mean, you if you made a movie about half this stuff, people wouldn't even believe it. They'd say it's too wild to be real. I think some of the ones that Roger's told me that I thought were pretty cool. One was something about like hiding. It was either like drugs or money that had to be hidden. There was that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Roger wanted me to bury some money in Holland, and he was in Germany.
This is the one.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I did. But then where do you bury it?
Yeah.
And so I have a cousin who had a farm in Holland, in the western part of Holland, and I buried it under a linden tree. That was going to be the mark. And so I said, I communicated that to Roger. And by the way, Roger and I have codes. We kind of speaking code. We know what we're saying, and
Yeah.
which is good too.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I said, I told him where I buried it. So when Roger escaped from the German prison, and I don't know how he did that. That was unbelievable how he got out of that prison.
Yeah.
And walked, and his experiences getting to Holland, and he looked for the money, and he said, okay, she said under the linden tree, so many feet. Well, when he got there were 20 linden trees. Which one was it,
Yeah.
But he did find it, and that there was $100,000 in a jar that I'd put in there.
Wow. How many trees did he go through before he found the one that you put it under?
I don't recall, I don't remember, but he's clever.
I just feel like he could probably read your energy when he was there. He's like, it's that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've made a boo-boo before.
That sounds familiar.
I'm
we call
sure
it an oopsie.
Yeah, an oopsie. Okay, I like that. One time there was some marijuana left in a small aircraft. Now we're back in Santa Barbara, California.
Right.
Okay? And he had a team that would unload the plane, and something that they weren't there on time. I mean, there was some discrepancy with time and so forth, etc. But anyway, as it all turns out, there was a bale of marijuana left in the plane. And so he says, Marrie, come with anything. Come with a truck. I need it, quick.
Yeah.
And so I came with the truck. He says, now I need you to take care of this and put it anywhere where you want. And he kind of gave me a general area where to drop it. And I said, well, I can't lift it. It's too heavy. He says, just back up, put on the brakes, and boom, let it slide out of the back of the truck.
Yeah.
Which I did.
Yeah.
But of all the places, and California, it never rains in California.
Oh, God, here we go.
And we have a few little streams here and there.
Oh.
Well, I went into this remote area.
Yeah.
I found the perfect spot. The hill was just perfect. So if I put on the brakes, it would just slide down the hill.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize there was a stream down the hill. And it went down into the water, boom, splash, but it bounced out of the stream. So I told Roger, I said, you're not going to like it. I said, I got rid of the bale, but it dropped into the water. And anyway, Roger found it and needed a crane to lift it up over the embankment.
No
Not
way.
really, I'm overemphasizing here.
Jesus Christ.
But anyway, yeah.
How much weed did you actually accidentally dump into the lake?
I don't know. I don't know how much a bale of marijuana weighed. I don't know.
70 pounds.
That sounds about right.
Wow. So 70 pounds of weed you accidentally dumped into a lake, and then Paul Roger has to bring up this soaking wet, so probably 100 pounds when you add the water in it.
I don't think it affected the marijuana any, but the thing is, it went down, and then I guess with the speed that it was coming down the hill, it just went bounce off onto the embankment.
Do you know what's funny? Like, what I love about hanging out with you guys is it's like anyone else's oopsie is like, oh, oops, I locked the keys in the house. Whereas your oopsie is like, oops, I dropped 70 pounds of weed into the river. Like, I did not mean to do that. Sorry, Roger.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that is so cool.
Yeah.
So there was a prison somewhere, South America, Holland, who knows, one of these, and you had to crawl somewhere underneath the prison?
Well, I had to crawl under into the water system and see where Roger could cut out from above. And so when you're crawling through a water system, even though it's not wet, there are cobwebs, there are rats, there's all sorts of not creatures, but it's dirty, it's filthy, it's mossy, it smells.
Yeah.
And so I did that for him and found the exact location where he could connect with the underwater system and come through and escape.
Wow. And how did you even have the conversation? Like, because you obviously have to discuss this at some point.
Right.
Like, where did you have that in person, or obviously not over the phone?
Well, I would visit Roger in the visiting room.
Yep.
And then, we always check under the table for mics and recorders and things like that. And we just kind of understand each other, what we're saying.
Right.
And then you just go up to him. Maybe you just want to hug him a little bit. Like when you first meet him, you're allowed an embrace and a kiss. And you say something really quick in his ear.
Oh.
Really quick.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then you progress during the visit. You will elaborate on it. He'll ask me, well, what? And then, I'll get some popcorn and give him some popcorn, make some noise and tell him.
What was I going to say? Wow, this is, by the way, just we've blasted an hour, which has felt very quick. So that's how you know it's going well. So fast forward now, life is a lot happier. You've got Roger back.
Yes.
I mean, actually, do you mind if I pull up a question? Because there was a really good one, and I think you covered it well when you were talking about, have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and just get on with it. It's a very stoic position, and often, like, it's either, the man who's supporting the family or the woman who has to hold the family up that has to take that mentality. And it is hard. You do have to be very stoic, So I can't imagine how hard that would have been. But one of the audience questions on that one was, obviously Roger did Time in Sight.
Yes.
And you're walking around with your good looks and your charisma and your positive energy. Sure, there are a lot of men that tried to talk to you during this time. What would you say to people when you get approached while Roger was away?
Well, first of all, thank you. But
typical polite fashion.
Yes, I'm not available, And look, I said, my husband's in prison. Oh, well, 4. I said, it's not murder, don't worry.
Yeah.
But I, I don't know you well enough to tell my story, and I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And, I'm uncomfortable to tell you the story.
Yeah.
But that's where he is. I wouldn't always tell that they were in prison, but I would just say, I'm not available, but thank you.
That is very polite, and it leaves just enough to the imagination.
Yeah, and I didn't want the guy to feel bad, too.
Yeah.
I always think about the other person when you
Oh,
say
that's so
something.
beautiful. That's a perfect answer. Thank you for setting up that question. All right, one of the audience questions, which we'll cap this one out with, because I think it just captures everything. One of them said, "What's it like to be married to one of the biggest international traffickers in human history, and what's it like to be married to an international drug trafficking kingpin?" It's not what you would call him, by the way. I know this is the audience talking. To you, he's your Roger.
Yes.
To these guys, he's an international kingpin. What's it like being married?
Well, that's it. He was Roger to me.
Oh, good.
I never thought of that as, an international. That's what he did. He was adventurous. I wish that he didn't. Of all, the fear and all the stigma and all that goes with it. But that's who he was, and I just did it. We just lived it.
Yeah.
I never went for fame. I mean, the money that he received for all that, it certainly gave me a wonderful life in regards, not so much ascertaining wealth and goodness. It was just the travel and the experience and the countries that we saw, never having to worry about the right-hand side of the page. You know what I mean?
I know.
The first night, he came home with the $10,000 after he did a first load of marijuana.
Yeah.
Dumped it out on the bed, and I went, oh, what? I couldn't believe it. And that night we went out, and he says, "Now I don't want you to look on the right-hand side of the page."
Yeah.
And just to be able, just bills, you just paid your bills. The joy, for me, it wasn't so much for me to. I liked it. I never had to worry about anything, but I loved giving it to my friends, loved taking them out to lunch.
Yeah.
And maybe shopping, and they picked out something. I just put it on my pile. I'll take care of it. I love doing that. It was very pleasant for me. And Roger's the same way.
Yeah.
He's very benevolent and generous.
Very, very much. So I can attest to that. Very, very generous, very kind. You guys are almost like the perfect match. You guys are like yin and yang where you need to be, but you're also perfectly in sync on the other parts. So when it comes to like generosity and kindness and empathy and benevolence, like you guys are lockstep.
Yes.
But then when it comes to like yin and yang, you've got Roger's chaotic work.
Yes.
And then you've got your calming, centric energy, which I think really brings you guys together. And I think one of the key things for me that I've taken away, having known you guys and having known you, having had the privilege to know you, is that like, it sounds like you guys love each other so much that like he could have done anything and you would support him.
Yeah, I don't know about anything.
Or maybe not. Maybe okay. Not like murder and kidnappings.
Right.
Sorry, I mean like for his career. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. What he did with the money was admirable, although it came from a not the right source, but yet we built a hospital in Belize with beds in it, and he, set up his family, and then they all were able to go to university and get degrees if they wanted to. He just took care of everybody. He enjoyed doing that.
Yeah.
And then it was just a neat. It was wonderful. It had its faults. It had its fears. It had its tragedy. But that's the way it was. That's how my life was, and I went along with it. Not completely wholeheartedly. I wasn't my heart, soul, and spirit wasn't always in there, but I loved him the way we had our life together.
Yeah.
I was able to overcome that, but it was always grinding within me. That it wasn't right.
And
breaking the rules.
we've all got to kind of face our like moral challenges and deal with our demons. And I think you just got to, you said it yourself. Sometimes you just got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and just get on with it for the sake of everyone else. And Yeah, I know you guys have had to do that. I think the last question will be, how's life now? It must be so much more peaceful now.
Well, we are so grateful. You know, Roger and I are both in our 80s. And
God, you guys look good for in your 80s.
yeah,
You're both sharp as a tack too.
Oh, well, I hope
Sharper
so.
than me. Yeah, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
and then to be traveling and meeting people like you.
Oh,
and
it's a pleasure.
having an interview like this.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's amazing.
Yep.
And our health, and the new friends that we are meeting and meeting granddaughters, and being able to travel across the country and to other countries. It's quite amazing, Liam.
Yeah.
We're very grateful.
You know what? Listen, you guys have been through a lot, and from me, I think you both deserve it. To be honest, listen, you guys have gone through enough chaos. Enjoy this period. I love seeing you guys with your kids, the photos of your grandchildren, just seeing you guys just both out being happy, traveling the world. That's what life's about, Life's
is.
short. You got to enjoy
It
these
is.
parts. So, I mean, look, we just blasted through an hour. That was incredible. Honestly, Marrie, that exceeded my expectations.
Oh, I'm glad.
I cannot thank you enough for coming on.
Oh, my
And
pleasure.
and thank you to your husband, who was the smart one that even suggested this. I'm so glad we did it. And when I'm back, let's just do it again.
I would love to.
All right, Marrie, thank you so much for coming on the
Thank
podcast.
you,
My
Lee.
pleasure.